So now we're on to how to break a chicken down. So our Gerber chicken is a little bit larger one than we usually use. Things you want to always look for on a chicken is you want to kind of make sure there's no blisters up here. Make sure the skin's intact. Obviously it shouldn't have a smell to it. This one we've taken the giblets out of it. So this is a little bit bigger than what we're used to using. I want to do that so you guys can see the demo. So when taking this down, whenever breaking this down, you want to look at it, kind of what you want to do with it. One of the things I don't like is when you get to shards of the bones from people just hacking into it. So to orderly break this down, we're going to take the first joint wing off. If you take your knife, it'll find its way into that natural break between the joints. We'll either fry these up and eat them later, or they'll go in our chicken stock. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the chicken so the wings parts are facing me. I'm going to take my fingers, find the heel of the chicken, and just take the knife and kind of let it slide down along there. There's a natural break where the wishbone comes up here. And flip my knife over and just come back up and just following the line of the ribs. Before I separate that joint, I'm going to come up, do the same thing here. And you'll find if you do this enough, you're either really comfortable with one side or the other. It's kind of a feel thing. A lot of times too, you can just take your fingers and work in there and work the meat away from the bone. One of the things in butchering that's always good is when you're butchering is to kind of let the knife and your fingers find the natural seam. So we're going to come down, we're going to pop out the chicken tenders, save those for another use or cook them up with it. And then come down, you'll feel a natural seam where the first joint is. I always take and pull the joint out so I make sure I leave the wing on. It's something we want for this dish. Same thing with this side. And we're going to flip it around to the back side. There's a line where there's some ribs and things coming out. Just going to take our knife, cut into it, almost make a notch there, so that it'll separate. Oops, sorry, my hand was in the way. So it'll start to let those legs separate from the bone. Lay our knife down, take both hands, pop those joints out, and then just take our knife down and make our finished cut. This is something I like because you basically, we basically eliminate all that main carcass and all those bones and everything that are in there. This all becomes stock. You know, if you've eaten in a restaurant and had our crispy chicken, that's where it comes from. Just like that. This we want to do a supreme breast. So we're just going to take and separate the breast from the leg and thigh. And then that leg and thigh will become another meal. We'll go ahead and separate them the same way as the wings, maybe. You'll find a natural break in the bone. The knife will kind of slide right through it. And that is how to break down a chicken. This is great because one of the things we want is for presentation and for just, you know, quality of cooking is we want this skin on breast. We don't want all those sharp little rib bones inside. You know, it's not Kentucky Fried Chicken. And then we want that nice uniform thing, nice uniform product. So there you go. And that we'll also talk briefly about the pork loin while we're here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get Serenity. I ran out of time. They ran out of time. Since the whole COVID butchering, you're getting things slaughtered and cuts. Been hard. So what you'll have here is basically a French center cut pork chop. This is from the other side of Ohio, I believe. It's a nice center cut. It's been trimmed up, Frenched a little bit, which just means they've taken a little bit of the fat and the rib off the rib bone there. I always prefer cooking things on the bone. I feel that there's added flavor in there, and it also protects you from overcooking it. So just a nice center cut chop. This one's about 8 to 10 ounces. You know, you see, one of the things you want to look at is you want to make sure it's not slimy. You want to make sure it smells good, and then you want to make sure it's firm. You don't want it kind of just flat out and all over they're just kind of falling all over the place. So there's our 2 proteins. That takes care of that, and we'll move the stove and start cooking.